What's up, everybody? My name is Shannon, and I am still waiting for my Satyr, and today we are talking about the 5th book in the Gone series, Fear by Michael Grant. So I've officially decided how I feel about this series, because at the beginning I really liked it, and the 3rd book just really killed it for me, and I was very on the fence coming out of Plague, which was the 4th book in the series, and I have now decided that I am very invested in where the story is going, and I do really enjoy it, but I would not recommend this series to you unless I knew that you really liked horror and I knew that you were okay with really weird stuff, because there are things that have started to happen in this series that I am not super okay / on board with. But by the time you get to this book, when you think about it in the perspective of how Michael Grant has been building it, it makes sense within the context of the story, and everything we get makes sense with where our characters are at. So I am able to justify it and be like, okay, fine, author, I understand where you're going. I understand why these scenes are so unbelievably horrific. But coming out of Plague, I was really interested in where we were going to go next, because the kids have now been separated. We have some that had decided to stay in Perdido Beach under the rule of King Cain, and then we had a couple of others that decided to follow Sam and go off to this new area that they discovered, and hopefully life would be a little bit better. And we also had Astrid, who picked neither path because she had to sacrifice her little brother to all of those little bug things and kind of needed to go off on her own. It is now 4 months later, and things have been kind of okay. They've had a little bit of a peace going on within the phase here, but of course that is not going to last for long, as it seems like something is happening with the dome, and it's getting darker and darker and darker, and soon enough there will be no light at all. And several times in this book our characters say that we are entering the end game, which is very fitting considering there's only one more book left in this series. I feel like you really felt the fear in this book. You really felt like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what's being planned. I don't know what's going on. And you really do feel afraid. And as this darkness is getting closer and closer and closer, like, you feel that too. You feel the fear of the kids within the phase. And I think that that was really well done. I feel like the author did a good job of upping the horror once again. Like, we have some pretty graphic scenes of a kid clawing his own eyes out and scratching out his own veins. And when I listened to that part in the car, I just like had to stop for a second to be like, oh Lord, kids, I have like weird things about my veins because my wrists are so small, and it was really, really creepy. And I feel like the fact that it got to me so much just really shows that like the author knows what he's doing, and he knows that like horror is the way that he wants to go. And I feel like especially when we get to the end of this book and we really get to take a good look at where our characters are at, and like it's all exposed. Everything that they have done, every sin that they have undertaken, everything that they've had to do to survive, it's all exposed at the end of this book. And suddenly you're just like, oh shoot, like, and it almost, you feel it too, because you're like, I've come so far in this series, I've gotten to this point where I can read these scenes and be kind of okay with it. And so like you kind of feel that too. So going into this next book, you're wondering if these kids can be redeemed. How are they going to go on if they get out of this scenario? Because we have also learned that everybody else is still alive. All of the parents and stuff, there is still an outside world. They all just got ejected out of this dome. So life still goes on, but can it go on for these kids? And I honestly have no idea. And I like when a book kind of makes you feel like that, because when going into the last one, you're like, I don't really know where we're going to end up. I have a feeling that we're going to end with the phase coming to an end, and surely we're going to defeat the darkness and all that kind of stuff, because that's normally how stories go. But you know, Sam has come so far to the point where he's ready to just kill children. We have Diana, who, you know, is pregnant for most of this book, which I am not a huge fan of, but I'm kind of interested in where that story is going. We have Astrid, who killed her little brother. We have Cain, who has murdered a lot of people. Like, these kids have gone through so much. And so how do you return to normal real life after that, and I don't know. But I am giving this book a B+. I do think the series is back on an upswing, and I've said this before, I think, but I've heard that the last book in the series is the best of the bunch, so I do have some pretty high expectations going into the final book. With that being said, there are, of course, a couple of things that I'm still just not on board with. I'm not on board with a couple of the decisions that the author makes regarding the characters. A couple of the plot lines I think were weird, and you can even tell that, like, he could tell that they weren't working because he kind of drops them and we don't talk about them anymore. So there's a couple little hiccups here and there, but I would recommend the series if you really like horror. Like, if you really like shows like The Society, you really love Lord of the Flies, you like American Horror Story, you like Black Mirror, like that kind of stuff, you will probably enjoy this series. But I wouldn't recommend listening to it because the narrator does a horrible job. He's just really limited with his range of voices there. And I really wouldn't recommend it to you if you can't handle graphic violence, because these scenes do get very, very graphic. And like, I am okay with viewing violence just because I've become so desensitized to it, but even I was not okay reading this kid just clawing his eyes out. It was very graphic. So with all of that being said, I am giving this book a B+. Very interested to see how it's all going to end. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can talk books with me every week. That is everything got for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!